Wiltan! Wiltan, where are you? Where are you? Wiltan! I'm sorry, Wiltan! Wiltan, I'm sorry! I'm sorry! Wiltan! Wiltan, where are you?
Let's start off with setup. In setup, the first thing I need to know is that these cards have multiple uses, similar to how we see cards used in things like San Juan, or in how we see cards used for multiple reasons in Race for the Galaxy. So the backside of the cards shows food. The fact that the backsides show food indicates that we're using it as food when it's face down like that. You can also flip a card over, and it has, a face that's going to be unique to it, that gives you a certain benefit or a certain kind of positive effect. So, the setup phase, all we have to do for setup phase is hand 5 face down cards to each player. This is our initial food supply. We're going to use food as kind of a currency in this game in order to buy other cards and to take turns. Once that simple setup is done, then people are basically ready to start playing the game, where there are 2 phases. The first phase is exploration, followed immediately by a market phase. We'll get into those in a second. First, I want to talk about the kinds of cards you can see in this game. There's basically 4 types of cards I want to talk about before we get into gameplay. The first type are resource cards. These are kind of your most basic cards that are going to essentially be the cards that you use to craft other more advanced cards later in the game. Pretty self-explanatory. You get a rifle and an axe. Those would be really useful. Finding wood would be really useful. The second type of card is kind of like a, more advanced kind of card that goes into your base. So here's an exercise called Prey. This one has no prerequisites required because there's nothing listed in a red icon right there. So I could take that card at the beginning of the game, and I would know that it's going to be useful for me to do these 2 cards later coming out. This is another type of card that you could go into your area, and this is actually one of the victory cards. However, I would need to have all these things in this row available to me at the time of trying to execute that card. Another type of card that you can get in the game, the third type, are food cards. This is a basic food card. Just is going to give me 4 food. I found a goat. Very cool. This, I could get a bird for some more food. The food amount is listed here in the bottom, but I'm going to need a prerequisite. I need to have that rifle in order to shoot that bird. The final type are these threat cards. And these threat cards you can note based on the red in the corner there. They have different levels of threat denoted by the skulls on there. When we get into the exploration phase, these cards are going to become really important for us to understand and know how to handle. Anyway, getting back to the game, let's look at exploration. The exploration phase is basically just this. I'm going to pay a food to go exploring on the island. I have to eat before I go explore. I need energy to find things and bring back resources to my base. So how I'm going to find those things, I'm simulating exploring the island by flipping cards over. So this game, this phase of the game at least, is at its core kind of a push your luck kind of element. Because there's 3 ways that I can stop flipping these cards. 1, I choose to stop. So I have some really nice cards that have flopped out for me at this point. But I haven't had any kind of problems yet. So look at this. I have 5 really great cards to pick from. I may choose to stop right now because I really like one of those cards out there. And there may be some other reasons to choose to stop, which I'll get to in market phase. But really the reasons why, look at that. A red card flopped. So now that a red card's out, I know that if another red card flips, I just basically lose my turn. I don't get to take one of those cards into my base. So now I have a really difficult decision I have to make. Do I want to continue flipping cards, or am I done? Well, I could choose one of these cards, put it in my base, feel pretty good about it, but maybe I really want something that's not out there yet. So I can continue flipping cards. Oh, so far so good. And oh no, a second red card. This would mean that my turn ends at this time if I'm unable to overcome the more dire of the threats. So the threats are marked with these skulls. The one with more skulls on it, I would have to be able to overcome using these things here. I don't have those. My turn's over. Unfortunately. Another way my turn could end is, let's say this red card did not come out. And instead, I keep flipping really good cards. Oh, look at that. I have now 10 cards out there. That marks the end of my turn as well. You cannot go past 10 cards. So now I pick one of those 10 cards in order to decide how I want to make my base better. That's the exploration phase. Now, since I was the explorer and I found this resource, I don't have to pay this food cost in the corner there. I get to just take this card into my camp for free. No prerequisites. I can use it as many times as I'd like. I use it up, get to keep it. Now the wood here has a 1. That means it's a one-time use. You only get to use the wood and it's used up. It's not a reusable resource. But I did take the axe and rifle into my camp, and now I have that resource available to me on future turns. Now we move into a market phase. All of these objects that I have uncovered out in nature, well, they have value to everyone else on the island, and I know where they're at. So the way I think about it is, I basically have secret information that I could share with other people if I choose to. So people have an opportunity now to buy these cards, and they're going to pay the cost in the corner here in order to take them. So if someone else had a rifle already, they could take this card without paying a cost here. It's free, but otherwise you're going to pay these costs in the corner. So the other thing too is there's a premium. In order for me to share my information, I need a bribe. I need you to give me 1 food. So you're going to pay the cost on the market phase that's found here, plus you're going to pay 1 additional food to the player that was active during exploration. This continues until people don't want to buy any more of the cards that are out there. So one of the reasons that we talked about you may want to stop is that you choose to stop. This is kind of an interesting strategy because as these cards were flopping out, let's say that I'm back to this stage here, I may have wanted to stop earlier on because I want to limit the choices that my opponents have, or maybe I wanted to push on. Even if I wanted this card here, I may want more cards out there that my opponents can buy so that I get food from them. They'll have to pay me more food. So that's one of the strategic decisions that happens in this game with that push your luck element. The game ends in one of 3 different ways. One way is to escape the island. Another way is to light a beacon campfire. Now, you can't just play those cards down by drafting them. There's a whole bunch of prerequisites there that are required that you have to have those items or resources available to you. So in order to escape from the island, I need to have a boat, as indicated on that symbol there. They match. I need to have access to Friday. You can see that with the matching symbols as well. And then this one just requires that I have 12 victory points, so that I have to have some experiences from the island in order to draw on those experiences to, escape the island. The beacon campfire requires a different set of victory conditions. It requires that you have some wood. Wood's good for fires. That you have some gunpowder. I guess that'll help get that fire really going. And that you be a man of God. So now I want to just kind of talk about, there's another layer yet even beyond this. In order to become a man of God, I would need to be able to pray and read or have 15 victory points. And in order to build a boat, I would need an axe and some wood. So you're really trying to keep these end conditions in mind as you're drafting cards from your push your luck kind of handout there. Finally, the other way you can end the game is by going through the entirety of the draw pile, which is a lot of cards, twice. After you've exhausted the pile twice, so after you've gone through the pile once, shuffled the discards and gone through a second time, the game comes to an end where the player with the most victory points wins the game. So either you're going to escape from the island to win, light a beacon campfire, or have the most victory points to win the game. And that's roughly this game in a brief explanation. Let's get back into the studio and I'll give you some thoughts on it. Joel here from the Board Game Mechanics. I have some highlights for you that you might not have picked up on with just seeing my rules explanation. So I want to just kind of go over some high points for you on this game after having played it a few times. Right off the bat, you can see the art in this game is really great, but even the card backs with that food, the diagram of the food on there, really a neat style. Then the card design, the art on the cards is really nice, really good, clean design. The actual art itself is really a nice style. I like it. It's kind of a light-hearted cartoon style, but then the graphic design of the cards does not get in the way of the game at all. And it's nice and clean, makes it easy to play the game, but also is visually appealing. So that's a very strong point in this game. The theme of this game is really great. I think there's been countless movies, it seems like, and TV shows about being stranded on an island and having to survive the time you wait being stranded. And Robinson Crusoe, 300 years ago now, this game kind of marking the 300th anniversary of that book, was one of the first, or maybe the first. So the inspiration from Robinson Crusoe, very cool. The idea of like just survival and just having fun with like trying to scavenge and make a camp, really a cool theme. Really enjoyed that. And it doesn't feel like a light filler game at times. It feels like you really are experiencing an adventure almost. So that's a lot of fun. And then finally, I would say that the idea that this game is kind of a filler in playtime is true. It has some filler mechanics, but then it also has some more depth to it at times, or more like interesting thematic feels to it that you wouldn't get with the typical, filler game. So the combination of really, it's push your luck with those cards flipping out, but then it's drafting after that, because you're kind of drafting a card out of there if you're lucky enough not to bonk out. And then it's kind of like not quite an auction, but that marketplace. It's like you're balancing the idea of, I want to put cards out there so I can get more food from people to buy from me, but I don't want the cards to be just so clearly good that they're going to run away with the game by being able to buy those cards off my turn. So it's an interesting balance on trying to decide how many cards you want out there with that push your luck, then follow that with some drafting, and really it kind of is drafting with the other players too, because they can buy. So those combinations of mechanics are really fun, and then you kind of have the like almost set collection or tableau building in front of you when you get those cards drafted into your area in front of you and into your base. So it's a really cool combination of mechanics that I really enjoyed. And I'm not sure if that comes through in just a basic rules explanation. So let's move on here. I give like some numerical values and some, overall ratings on some things that I do. And this one, I'm going to go ahead and just do that as well. The accessibility of this game is most everybody's going to enjoy it. I think that, like I said, maybe it'll be difficult for some young gamers to pick up on the copying symbols or matching symbols up, but the complexity of this game isn't too bad. It's really pretty easily understandable. There might be some 8-year-olds that struggle with it, which is what the box says, 8+. Some kids will need to wait till they're 10 maybe to play, but it's not a really complex and super difficult game. It's got broad appeal to most any family member. The theme on this is awesome. I love the theme, and the theme is just good, as evidenced by Gilligan's Island, Castaway, Robinson Crusoe, Swiss Family Robinson. I mean, all these things where it's like you're stuck on an island and you're trying to survive and you're forging out, a camp. It's been done in fiction and movies a bunch. It's been done in games even before this. And I think the theme it stands up. It's been done so much because it's a fun theme. And it's something that you can relate to. I think everyone's, got a familiarity with the basics of what you'd want in life and what you'd want to have in your camp. So that theme is really great. I think everybody's going to enjoy it. I think even your hardcore gamers who are like, I only play the most heavy, cool games, which is typically me, we're going to enjoy this game. Even with the art and everything that seems maybe a little lighter, the game is fun. The just fun of it is just really cool. And we're getting into fun now. This is a 4 out of 5 fun. It's really fun. That press your luck mechanism is really a lot of fun. The drafting is a lot of fun. And just the combination of the two is just a neat, like, decision-making kind of thing going on. If this game has a weakness at this point, in my mind, it's the replayability of this game. And I don't think it's necessarily a weakness, because like a game like this is a game that you're going to pull out and play it, and it's going to be done really quickly. So they call them filler games because you play them either between bigger games or when you only have a little bit of time left at the end of the night. This is going to fill that real estate really well, because while it gets a little repetitive with the uniqueness of all the cards isn't as high as I might like. There's plenty of room for expansions. So I think maybe in future offerings, they will expand this game. But even then, there's enough there to keep it really fresh. And not every game does feel the same. There's variety in how those cards flop out. So I give it above average marks for replayability. And it's not even necessarily a weakness, but it's just an acknowledgement that, this isn't going to be something that's completely unique every time you play it. It does have similar feels to it. But this is still something that you're going to play, fairly frequently. And that's the closest thing to a flaw that I can find with it. The design and the art, I absolutely am in love with. I mean, like the way how the cards are laid out, it makes a lot of sense to me. The art in the game is really great, especially for a company that's just a developing company, just coming to Kickstarter. I think the art in this game is just top notch. I've been sent a lot of independently designed card games and board games to review and preview, and most of them aren't anywhere near as nice looking as this one. And the components that came with this even prototype, the box was a really sturdy, nice box, a good size. The cards had a nice finish on it. I think the cards will last for a very long time. Sometimes when you get cards from independently produced studios, they feel like they're just like really thin, just cardstock, and you need to sleeve them. These had a nice finish on them, a nice thickness and heaviness to them. So overall, I really did enjoy this game. If you felt like this is something that you would be interested in, if it looks like it's your kind of taste, I would say it's a rock solid game, and there's not going to be any flaws with it after you get it. So I know there's been games out there on Kickstarter where it's like, oh, that is a really cool theme and it seems good, but how does it play? And then it doesn't end up playing that great because it has some weird, hang-ups. This one's really smooth. It plays really well. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and say that if it looks cool, don't hesitate to jump. Anyway, I've been Joel from the Board Game Mechanics, and if you are enjoying this review, maybe mash that like button down there. Maybe subscribe. Maybe check out BG Mechanics, which is our website, and check out all of our work. Jason's another mechanic. He's the co-host for the podcast. He does a lot of videos too. You can find those right here on our list. But that's it. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and keep gaming.